This week is all about bad dudes, but minus the Dragon Ninjas. Mega Man 2 had a great lineup of enemies, and since this is a mashup of Mega Man 2 and Galaga, it's time to start working on the roster. In the last episode we added movement, tilting and bullets to the game, along with a thruster animation that gave a nice visual cue that the player was moving forwards. However, I had a comment from the Real Sumo that suggested I keep a constant thruster animation playing that increases its size and intensity as you thrust forwards. I thought this was a brilliant idea, so I added a new animation to the thrusters that played a smaller fireball on a loop, and then set the animation to switch to the larger animation when moving forwards. I like it. What do you guys think? As the comments section continues to prove it's the gift that keeps on giving, I got the idea to use the playback rate to vary the sound of the gunfire, thanks to Duck on Wheels creator S. Babanu. I simply gave the shoot sound effect a tag called shoot, and told the system to choose one of two playback rates when playing the sound effects. Modifying the playback rate of an audio file changes both its speed and its pitch. A value higher than 1 will make the sound play faster and at a higher pitch, while a value lower than 1 will make it slower and deeper. I want the enemies to take the form of aliens and alien spacecrafts throughout the game. To get started, I did some Googling for reference material, and then approximately 20 seconds later I found what I was looking for: an alien butterfly. I created a new sprite, 16 by 16 pixels, and started creating a basic butterfly character, keeping with the theme of the double white and black outline. I gave it 2 animation frames to show the character flapping its wings, and tested the game to see what it looked like. I quite like it, but it can't just sit there looking pretty. It needs a movement pattern. This enemy isn't going to fire projectiles, it needs to be slow, easy to kill enemy. There are a few things I need to consider when it comes to enemy attack patterns. In the original Galaga, enemies swoop in, move around the screen, and then line up in a formation similar to that of Space Invaders. From the get-go, you're introduced to 2 enemy types, and the levels are pretty quick. My game is going to slightly differ. For one, I want the player to be able to move in a linear fashion through the level to eventually reach the end of level boss. For this reason, I'm not going to have my enemies line up in a formation. I'm going to need to find another way to spawn them in, and to be a well-balanced challenge. For now though, I need to change the layout dimensions, and the viewport ready to build level 1. I changed the width and height of the layout and viewport to create a long vertical level. I then moved the player and enemy to the bottom, but because the viewport is set to the top of the layout, this meant the player and the enemy were off screen. To fix this, I'll need to create a camera that moves from the bottom to the top of the screen. I created a new sprite and called it Camera. I gave it the scroll to behavior, which basically means it will now act as a camera. I moved it to the bottom of the screen, and now we can see the player. And for my game, I want to create the camera so it moves slowly up the screen until it reaches the top, and that's where the boss fight will happen. To make this work, I created a sprite and called it Camera Location. I gave it an instance variable called Location and made a copy of the sprite, calling one Start and the other End. In the main event sheet, I created a group called Camera, which is where I'll store all the logic for the camera movement. I created an event that sets the camera to the camera location sprite on start of layout if the camera location is equal to start, and set the camera to move up the screen every tick at -1 pixel. To make this more dynamic, I created a global variable that will hold the camera speed. This way I can add a setting for the player to alter how fast or slow the camera moves later in the game if I so choose. I set the camera's scroll behavior to disable it when it collides with the end camera location. But although this stopped the scrolling, it didn't stop the camera. I created a boolean variable on the camera called canMove and set it true. I then added a condition to the every tick event to only move the camera upwards if the canMove boolean is true. This means I can now easily switch the camera on and off. I tested the game and I think it works pretty well. In the next episode, we'll be adding a system to spawn in our first enemy and give it a movement pattern. I'll also add collision detection so we can actually destroy the enemy. If you've been here since episode 1, give me a thumbs up in the comments, and as always, let me know how you think the game is coming along. I'll be aiming to add as much feedback from you guys into the game as I can as we progress through the year. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.